Hey there, my name's Adam, your friendly Sasquatch, and today we're going to be taking a quick look at Yeti's Roadie 15, a hard-sided 15-quart cooler from Yeti that I'm super excited about. And it's the smallest cooler in their hard-sided lineup. So I'm really excited about this because we've all kind of been waiting for something like this. They have their soft-sided Hopper Flip series, and they have their larger Tundra series, and the Roadie series was all just pretty good sized, and I was really just looking for kind of a day trip type cooler or something I could take overnight by myself. In this review, we're going to cover the features you get when you order one of these coolers, what type of ice it can take, who I think it's intended for, and I'm also going to pull out my Hopper Flip 12 and do a head-to-head comparison so you can make a buying decision between the two of these great options. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the exterior of this cooler. So right off the bat, one of the first things you're going to notice is that they have a new strap for this cooler. I haven't seen it on any of Yeti's other products, and it gives you two different carrying options. You first have the kind of bucket style that the Roadie 24 had. It's not a hard plastic handle like the Roadie 24, but you still have that ability. And then there's also this nice padded shoulder strap, so you can lengthen the straps and shoulder carry it if that's your thing. If you don't want to use the strap, it's super easy to remove. You just pull down on the side buckles and it pops right off. So that's a nice feature as well. We're going to pull it off for now just to get it out of our way. If straps aren't your thing, on each side you have nice kind of molded in handles, which makes it easy to carry by hand. And for a cooler of this size, I think that's a really good option. It's only 15 quarts, so you can put about 15 pounds worth of stuff into this cooler, which is easy to carry by hand if you want. On the bottom, you have 4 rubberized feet, which come with all of Yeti's hard-sided coolers, which keeps it from sliding around, especially if you have this in a boat or something like that. You also have the imprinted Yeti logo, which is great if you drop it in the sand. You can pick it up and kind of leave the Yeti imprint in the sand. It's kind of fun. And new to this particular cooler, I don't think I've seen this on the other Roadies, is you have kind of a handle cut out on the front and back sides of the bottom of the cooler. So that's really nice if you're lifting it out of a truck bed or something like that. You can easily get your hand under there, especially if it's wet or something like that. It gives you something to grip onto. So I really like the additional attention to details that Yeti has put into this Roadie 15. You haven't seen some of these features on their other Roadie coolers, and it just goes to show that Yeti is continuing to improve their products with each release. On the top, we have a flat surface that's kind of textured, kind of like a cutting board. Now, one of my favorite things about the Yeti Roadie series coolers is their cam style, one-handed kind of locking mechanism on the front. It's super easy, just with one hand, you just unlock the cooler, which I really love. On the bottom side of the cooler lid, you have a nice rubber seal, which comes down firmly on the lip on the cooler itself to prevent a good air seal. Now, it's not airtight. If you put dry ice or something like that in here, it will vent air as needed, so you don't have to worry about that. So this is a dry ice safe cooler, but it does provide a pretty good air seal to keep cold air in and hot air out. So a really nice design there. We'll compare that to the Hopper Flip series in a little bit. Looking on the inside of the cooler, we have a nice smooth surface that we'd expect of any cooler. But if you look in the very bottom, we have a nice cutout for water escape through the drain plug. And that's something that's new to this particular version of the Yeti Roadie. If you flip it to the side, we have a drain plug, which is new to the Roadie series. I don't think any of the other Yeti Roadie coolers have the drain plug. So that's really exciting. I hope they put this in all of the future Roadie coolers because I think it's really nice to be able to throw some ice on top of your food, pull the drain plug, drain any water out, and away you go. That way you don't have a bunch of water sloshing around in here, but at the same time you don't have to unpack the entire cooler just to put fresh ice in. So I really like that addition. That was really one of the only complaints I had when I reviewed the Yeti 24. So again, Yeti is just listening to their customers, and I really appreciate that. The Roadie 15 is 16.9 inches wide, 11.4 inches deep, and 14 inches tall. It weighs just under 10 pounds. So again, a very compact cooler for a hard-sided cooler. And the dimension I'm really interested in is at 14.4 inches because that is what's going to let this cooler fit behind your front driver's seat in your truck or in a small trunk or any small spaces. Typically, the kind of depth of the cooler is the limiting factor. So that's why this cooler is a little bit wider and skinnier. It lets you put this in places that other coolers simply can't fit. And at just under 10 pounds, that's a very reasonable weight. At 15 quarts, you can get 15 pounds of material in here, so 10 pounds really isn't too bad. Most of us don't really think about how heavy a cooler is until we're dragging it off the back of our truck and carrying it half a mile to whatever beach spot the wife picked out. So the fact that it's under 10 pounds is a good thing. Now this is a 15 quart cooler, and Yeti claims that this can hold up to 18 cans of your favorite beverage. However, I think once you get some ice and stuff in there, it's probably gonna be holding closer to 12, maybe 14 cans. You need a little room for the ice to keep your stuff cold. But still, a very nice capacity for a day trip for your family of 4, or an overnight trip or a little camping trip for 2 people. So I do really like the size. As long as you're not doing a week-long trip with 4 or 5 people, this should be a really good size cooler for you. Now, one of the things you might be wondering is what size ice blocks will fit into this particular cooler. Because this Roadie 15 is Yeti's most compact hard-sided cooler, not all the ice fits the same way as it does in some of their other coolers. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and take a look. So now what Yeti is recommending with this particular cooler is their medium thin ice. Now this is a 2-pound block, and when you put it in the bottom, it fits in the bottom flat, and it has a little space around the perimeter of the ice. The reason for this, they say, is so you can dump ice on top, and you'll have kind of that block of ice there ready to refreeze the ice as it melts. So that's what the intended ice block for this particular cooler is. Just throw one of the medium thin ice in the bottom, or you can do the medium big ice, and again, kind of fits in the same way, allowing ice to melt around it and refreeze. Now me personally, in some of my other coolers, I like to use the 4-pound blocks of ice, just because I don't want to have loose ice that melts and creates a mess. I'm just out for the day. I just want to be able to grab a 4-pound block of ice and throw it in. Now unfortunately with this particular cooler, this 4-pound block of ice does not fit flat in the bottom. It will fit on the front or the back just fine, and it'll fit if you stand it up vertically, but the block of ice is too wide to fit the narrow depth of this particular cooler. So that's something to be aware of, and it might be a detractor for some people. Okay, so I got the Hopper Flip 12 out here because I think it's a good comparison size-wise to the Yeti Roadie 15. Now obviously the Roadie 15 is a hard-side cooler, where the Hopper Flip 12 is a soft-sided cooler. This is a 12-quart cooler, so it is a little bit smaller, but it's a very comparable size. We're going to kind of compare and contrast the differences between these 2 coolers and why you might pick one over the other. Comparing side by side, you can see that the Hopper Flip 12 is a little bit shorter. They do have the similar handles, and the Hopper does have buckles on the side with the shoulder straps. So you can carry these both in similar ways, where this kind of top handle will come up higher, or this is attached to the lid itself. Let's go ahead and turn these to the side, and you can see that both coolers are of similar width. If I just put the Hopper Flip 12 on top, you can see they're almost the exact same width. Now the Hopper Flip 12 will squeeze down a little bit and doesn't have the buckles on the front sticking out, so it will be more compact in the depth dimension. Now the width is where these coolers are really different. Putting the Hopper Flip 12 on, you can see you got another 6 or 8 inches sticking past this Hopper Flip 12. So the hard side cooler is just a bit bigger all around, but hard side coolers also tend to keep things cold longer. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Now the Hopper Flip 12 isn't a slam dunk here though. There's no drain plugs on either side of it, which, if you want to add ice and drain the water, that's a little bit of a bummer. Also, how you open these coolers is very different. The Roadie 15 has nice buckles that can be used with one hand, and it's super easy to open. Your kids could do this. Where the Hopper Flip 12 has a zipper. It is a waterproof zipper, but you have to physically hold the cooler down to use the zipper. Otherwise the cooler is going to slide around on you. It's not as easy, and the zipper can be kind of stiff, especially when new. So there's a couple of the exterior differences between these two. They both have handles on the sides. The Hopper Flip 12 has kind of strap handles, where the Roadie 15 has the molded in handles themselves. The last major difference that I want to point out with this cooler is a 4-pound Yeti block will fit perfectly in the bottom of the Hopper Flip 12, which is one of my favorite features of this cooler. Now because that 4-pound block of ice fits flat in the bottom of the Hopper Flip 12, it's just out of the way and doesn't take a lot of space, and it's very secure. Where in the Roadie 15, it unfortunately doesn't fit flat in the bottom. And I think that's okay. You can tip it up on the side and put it on the back, but really this is intended for the medium size blocks, the 2-pound blocks. Now that's fine, especially if you're adding some ice. But personally, if I'm just taking this out for a half a day or something like that, I really like being able to throw that 4-pound block of ice in there. I don't have to worry about melted ice or anything like that. I just pull the block out when I get home and put it back in the freezer. So that's something to consider between these 2 coolers. And finally, you have to consider price. Yes, the Hopper Flip 12 is a little bit pricey for what you get, and the Roadie 15 is going to be a little bit more affordable. Now that's not to say that the Roadie 15 is a cheap cooler, but I think most people will agree in saying that this is a little bit better value for what you get. So I'm heading to the beach today, and I have this cooler full of ice, and I want to show you guys this nice dry goods basket made by Yeti. This is their small dry goods basket. It is a separate purchase. It does not come with the cooler, but it's a relatively affordable add-on, and it just fits perfectly in the top of the cooler there. You can move it to any position within the cooler to fit around your other items, and it's a great addition if you want to keep things like sandwiches or fruits, things like that, dry and out of the ice. And as the ice melts, you can obviously use the drain plug to drain some of the water, but this will keep it up and out of the ice and keep everything dry. I also like these dry goods baskets for things like cell phones, keys, wallets, anything you really want to keep out of the heat of the sun, but you don't want to get wet. So the Yeti small dry goods basket fits this cooler perfectly, and I would highly recommend it. Now the dry goods basket isn't the only option available for the Yeti cooler. You can also get different color options. This particular example is in the Rescue Red, which I really like, but if that's not your thing, they have white, navy, charcoal, and tan as core colors that are always available. Right now they have two seasonal colors, which are Wave Blue and Vine Red. Those will be available for a limited time, and they'll rotate those out with other colors that you might be interested in. In the past, they've had pink, yellow, and some other colors like that on their other cooler series. So if there's a specific color you're looking for, keep your eye out. They might come out with it for a limited time. All right, so that was my quick review of the Yeti Roadie 15. I think it's a great cooler. It checks a lot of boxes, and I think for most people, this is going to be a really good day trip cooler to the beach for a family of 4, something like that, or an overnight cooler for 2 people if they're going camping, a road trip, something like that. Now, I'm always interested to hear what you guys think these coolers are good for, so let me know in the comments below what you think this size of cooler would be a good fit for in your household. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button below. It helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to hit the subscribe and bell icon so you're the first to be notified when I release new videos just like this one. Cheers!